Today we're going to talk about the absolute must-know in audio. Hey everyone, Stephan here. I hope you're doing well. So today we're going to talk about the absolute must, the total basics of audio editing. Now, if you're a sound engineer, if you're a mastering engineer, if you're a musician, if you have 1,000 years of experience of editing audio, then you will be bored out of your brains. If I would only script my videos, it would be so much smoother. Anyway, let's talk about those absolute basics in audio. But before we go there, we have to quickly mention our sponsor, which is none. Zero. Yes, I just do this because of the good of my heart. Because I love educating people. You could do your part as well. You could like this video. You could subscribe to the channel. It means a lot to me as a person. Of course, feeling important, blah, 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 blah. No, it really, truly helps the algorithm. The more likes, the more subscribers you have. It's not a metrics of how cool you are, but it actually shows the video to more people on YouTube. So it would be a great help if you could do that. But now, hold the blabble aside. Let's jump into audio. The first thing that we have to look at is bit depth. So you edited your video, you made your cuts, your edits, everything sounds awesome. Now you export it. The first thing that you have to do is look at the bit depth. The standard for a very long time is 16-bit. What does it mean? Well, it's a resolution of the file. Compare it to a photo. The more pixels you have, the more details you have in a picture. The same applies to audio. 16-bit is the resolution of the file. It's the standard, it's the CDs, it's just what you use. So export in 16-bit. You hear other numbers at times. You hear 24-bit. You hear 32-bit. When you go through the Google machine and you go on YouTube, you hear 32-bit float. These are higher resolutions that we use on recording, on the way in to the computer, microphones, instruments, etc. Very often we record at 24-bit or higher. But the export format standard for you is 16-bit. Don't touch it, don't change it, go with it, you'll be good. Well, that was easy. So next is sample rate. You come across two numbers, 44.1 and 48. That's in kilohertz, so times 1,000, so 48,000. What does it mean? It's the amount of data points or samples that are within 1 second of audio. So 48K or 48,000 means 48,000 data points, sample points within your track per second. Which one to use? Well, it's quite simple. 44.1 has been the standard for music CDs and music delivery in general, so you can't go wrong. For video, it's a different story. The standard for video is 48K. So, if you export purely for music, 44.1, you're just fine. If you know that it will go into a video as a backing track or whatever, or maybe used in the future, use 48K. Next, maybe the most important part, something that most people are not completely aware of. There is a ceiling in digital audio at 0 dB. Anything that is above will be cut off. Imagine a fan with razor-sharp blades. If you get too close, you will get a haircut you will never forget. You cannot go above 0 dB in digital audio. So as you add different tracks, as you overlap tracks, as you create fades in between cuts, it will for a moment become louder, especially even more so in the lower frequencies. Ideally, we stay a good amount below. Minus 0.1 is sort of the max I would ever push it. Minus 1 is even better. If you then edit something and it is not super loud and you get to the theater, you can always push it. You can always amp it up a little bit. You can always make it louder. But once something is clipped, cut off, you often get harsh sounds that you may not hear when you edit it. But once you're in a theater, once you hear it over the big speakers, even worse if you hear it over-cranked on bad speakers, you will hear that distortion, that clipping, that harshness. So stay below the 0 dB mark. And remember, the more you add, the louder it gets. So then you have to take all those individual tracks down so that in sum, they will not go above the 0 dB mark. Now, in the olden days, in the analog days, it was a different story. We didn't talk about digital limit. We talked about headroom, where we could drive the signal. And because it went through tubes and transistors and all that sort of beautiful stuff, it gave it some harmonic distortion, some added color, some warmth even. That is not the case with digital. So digital, razor sharp ceiling, keep your head away from it, keep that headroom, make sure that you have a little bit to spare so you never clip. Now the question is, what file format to use? Well, there's only really 3 to talk about. It's AIF, WAV, and MP3. The first 2 are uncompressed, so they maintain all the juicy, beautiful detail of your audio. The standard is WAV files, so you can't go wrong. There's one downside to it, because they're uncompressed, they can be quite hefty in file size. So if you need to share them, send them by email or so, maybe you get away with 2.5-3 minute long clips, but once your program goes longer, half an hour, whatever, those files are big. So the sharing is not that simple, but you maintain all the goodness of your music, every little detail. If you need to create smaller files, go with MP3. MP3 is a compressed format, a very, very good codec, which in most cases, for most people, sounds exactly the same, as long as you keep the bit rate of that file up. When you export or select MP3, you will see that there is a setting where you can change the bit rate of that MP3 file. I personally wouldn't go below 256, ideally stay with 320 as bitrate, and the audio file will sound just fine. Going below, it compresses too much and you start to hear it. So MP3, great format, especially when you need to share it or send it to other people as well. Keep the file size small, but stay with 320 bitrate. With one exception. If you make an edit and someone else needs to further work with it, if you send it to me to master, to bring the loudness up, to compress it, whatever it may be, please don't send MP3 files. Don't send compressed files for someone else to further edit. We don't want to deal with the compression and the artifacts that may come with it. So in that case, go with a WAV file. You can't go wrong. All pretty straightforward so far. Now, there's 1.5 or 2 more extra points. One of them is that as much as I love my MacBook Air, I cannot trust those speakers when I edit. And the same with earbuds. I love grooving through the city to some good music, but I cannot judge any edits on it. What I need and you need is a good room, either some really good cans, headphones or speakers that are reflective of what your edit is actually sounding like. So you cannot judge what you cannot hear. Don't edit on those speakers. Please don't do it on some cheapo $22 Amazon headsets. It just you can't hear what you're doing. So use a good decent set of headphones. It doesn't have to be studio grade, whatever, but good solid headphones or some good speakers in an environment where you can actually focus on what you're doing. If you have screaming kids in the studio next door or some ballet music in the studio above or a TV running, you cannot judge what you're doing. So find a place, find cans, find speakers, whatever does it for you and whatever is in your budget, but make sure that you hear what you're doing. And the other point is, don't use anything that you don't know what it's doing. I hear so often that people find, the music has to be louder, so they push it through some limiters or clippers or compressors and EQs, but they don't quite understand what they're actually doing. And then I'll get it and I'll hear the pumping and I hear the clipping. And if you know what you're doing, amazing. I love plugins, I love analog gear, I love EQs and compressors and limiters, and that's all amazing. But you need to know what you're doing. You can do more harm and more damage to your beautiful audio than you could think of. And then doing so on a laptop speaker and you don't really hear what you're doing, just, if you know what you're doing, go for it. If you don't, just don't. It's that simple. That's it for today. Well, we didn't talk about any of that beautiful stuff, which we will do in the next episode, because analog still sounds better than digital. Or does it? I guess we'll find out next week. Until then, go out, mess with some audio and create something awesome.